It is a story from a very long time ago, when faithful animals were the support of humans for travel. Mulla Nasreddin also had a donkey that was famous throughout the city for its laziness and cleverness. People used to say that it was not just a donkey but half of Mulla's brain. Wherever Mulla went, he would go riding his donkey and keep talking to it all along the way. He would never push or beat it. Instead, he considered it an old friend. One cold and silent night, when the entire city was fast asleep, a shadow appeared outside Mulla Nasreddin's house. This shadow was not of an ordinary thief, but of the city's wisest thief, named Chaman. Chaman was so proud of his stealing that he always said, "If I commit a theft, no one can catch me because I work with my brain." Chaman had his eyes on Mulla's donkey for many days. He thought that if he stole the donkey of a wise person like Mulla, his influence would be established in the entire colony of thieves. Chaman very quietly jumped over the back wall of Mulla's house. He saw that the donkey was tied outside in the courtyard and was sleeping very peacefully. The thief very skillfully untied the donkey's rope and signaled it slowly. But the donkey also belonged to Mulla. It was not going to move so easily. Chaman took out a juicy and sweet carrot from his pocket. Smelling the fragrance of the carrot, the donkey opened its eyes and began to follow the thief. Out of greed, Chaman took the donkey through the narrow streets of the city and left for his hideout. He felt as if he had achieved one of the world's greatest victories. The next morning, when the first ray of the sun fell on Mulla's courtyard, Mulla Nasreddin came out to feed the donkey, as per his habit. But there was nothing but silence there. The empty peg and the footprints of the donkey on the ground were screaming and saying, "Mulla, your faithful companion has been stolen." Mulla neither made a noise nor started crying. He ran his hand over his beard for a while and dived into deep thought. He carefully examined the ground and then took a long breath and smiled. Instead of worry, there was a strange mischief on his face, as if he had prepared a plan in his mind to catch the thief. He knew the thief was wise, so to catch him, he would have to do something unique, rather than an ordinary tactic. He left the door of his house open and went to stand at the city's largest crossroads. People began to gather there, and everyone was asking, "Mulla, what happened? Why are you so calm? We have heard that your donkey has been stolen." Mulla replied very seriously, "Yes, the thief has taken the donkey, but I am not sad for the donkey, rather for the wise thief who stole it. The poor fellow doesn't even know what trouble he has invited." People were stunned to hear this from Mulla. They thought that perhaps Mulla had lost his mind due to the disappearance of the donkey. Meanwhile, Chaman the thief was standing in a corner of the city, watching all this spectacle. When he heard this talk of Mulla, doubts arose in his mind. He thought, if a worldly person like Mulla Nasreddin is not worried, it means there is definitely something about this donkey that I do not know. Chaman had thought that he would become rich by selling the donkey, but Mulla's words forced him to think. The next step Mulla took was that he had an announcement made throughout the city. "Brothers, whoever has stolen my donkey must return it immediately. If he does not do so, I will do exactly what my father did at that time when his donkey was stolen." As soon as this announcement was heard, a wave of fear ran through the city. People began to ask each other, what had Mulla's father done? Had he given the thief some horrific punishment, or had he brought a calamity upon the whole city? Chaman the thief, who considered himself the wisest, was now truly scared. He thought that Mulla's father must have been some great physician or magician, who had made the thief's condition miserable. His wise mind was now scaring him. The more he thought, the more entangled he became. He would repeatedly go to his hideout and look at the donkey, which was standing very peacefully, eating fodder. The silence of the donkey was now appearing as a deep secret to Chaman. By evening, Chaman's courage gave out. He thought that before Mulla does that horrific thing his father did, it is better to return the donkey, but he did not want to do this in an ordinary way, because he was afraid of being caught. He thought of a new tactic, that in the darkness of the night he would tie the donkey outside Mulla's house, and disappear in such a way that no one would get even a hint of it. Mulla Nasreddin was sitting in the courtyard of his house, smiling and looking toward the street. He knew how to control a wise thief. He had ruined the thief's sleep with just one sentence. Mulla said in his heart, "The greatest weakness in the world is a person's own fear, and when a person claims to work with the brain, he falls into the trap of fear even faster. At midnight, when only the sound of dogs barking was coming from the city streets, Chaman the thief moved softly toward Mulla's house. He was holding the donkey's rope and was looking back repeatedly to see if anyone was following him. He had thought that he would quietly tie the donkey to the peg and leave, but as soon as he reached near the house, he heard the sound of coughing from Mulla's room. Chaman stopped dead. His heart began to beat fast. He gathered courage and took the donkey inside. He was just tying the rope to the peg when suddenly a heavy voice echoed, "Who is there?" Chaman's hands and feet went cold. Suddenly Mulla Nasreddin appeared in front of him, with a stick in one hand and a red lantern in the other. Chaman tried to run, but Mulla blocked the way with great agility. Mulla asked very gently, "Oh, my wise friend, why are you in such a hurry? Thank you for bringing my donkey back. But first tell me, why did you take so much trouble?" the thief said, stammering. "Mulla, I saw on the way that your donkey was wandering, so I thought I should drop it back." Mulla let out a laugh and said, "Wow, such worldliness and such a good reputation. But why the fear? Did that old story of my father worry you?" Chaman swallowed with great difficulty and asked, "Mulla, tell the truth. When your father's donkey was stolen, what did he do? Did he perform some magic? Or did he destroy the thief's generations?" Mulla Nasreddin smiled and said, "My father did exactly what every wise person does. When his donkey was stolen and did not return despite efforts, he went quietly to the market and bought a new donkey." Upon hearing this, Chaman's mouth was left wide open. He who had been in fear for so long and was thinking about all the world's troubles, realized that Mulla had made a fool of him. Only with a web of words, Mulla had made his intelligence his weakness. Seeing his silence, Mulla said gently, "Friend, do not be worried. A human is always imprisoned in the cage of his own thoughts. You stole because you felt you wouldn't be caught, and you returned the donkey because you felt you would get stuck in some mysterious trouble. In both cases, your fear and your greed were making your decisions." Mulla further advised, "True wisdom is not in deceiving others, but in controlling one's own self." Chaman bowed his head before Mulla and promised that he would refrain from stealing in the future. Mulla gave him some pocket money and sent him off. The next morning, when the sunlight spread over the city, Mulla Nasreddin was seen passing through the middle of the market, riding his same old donkey. The city people, who had been worried since yesterday and were waiting for Mulla's horrific step, were stunned. Voices began to come from every side. "Mulla, you found your donkey? But how? Did you try the same old method of your father?" Mulla stopped his donkey at the city crossroads, and looking at the crowd of people, smiled and said, "Brothers, justice has been served. I did exactly what my father did, and the result turned out exactly as it should have." The curiosity of the people now increased to the limit. One person shouted and asked, "Mulla, for God's sake, tell us correctly. What had your father done? Had he performed some magic on the thief?" Mulla let out a laugh and said in a loud voice, "My father was a very patient and sensible man. When his donkey was stolen and was not found after all kinds of efforts, he bought a new donkey so that his work would not stop. I also had just intended that if the thief did not return the donkey, I would go to the market today and bring a new donkey, but the thief turned out to be so wise that out of fear of my patience, he returned the donkey himself." The whole market echoed with laughter. The people who were waiting for some mysterious or horrific story laughed at Mulla's simplicity and quick-wittedness. Mulla proved that to defeat an enemy in the world, a sword or magic is not always needed. Sometimes, just a little psychology and a little patience are enough. After that day, the incidents of theft decreased in the city, because every thief was afraid that Mulla might play some wise game with them too. From this story, we get the lesson that a person's own fear and illusion harmed them more than a wise enemy. The true wisdom of this story is that Mulla Nasreddin tried to improve the thief Chaman's nature, not with a sword or magic, but by removing his fear through his wisdom and sagacity. A human's greatest weakness is their fear, and when a person becomes aware of their weaknesses, they can better face the difficulties of life. It was a lesson for Chaman that the more he tried to deceive the world, the more he kept getting trapped in his own fear.